everyone. Sorry, apologies. We're just starting a little bit late this evening. Hello, everybody, and welcome back after summer to our first meeting. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered tonight on the unceded traditional territory of the First Nations people. And I also would love to share that as an uninvited guest on this incredible land, my commitment to truth and reconciliation is to continue my education of the truth of this wonderful land. So thank you so much for tonight, and I would like to call for an adoption of the agenda. Oh, as amended, sorry, and that amendment is 8.1.2. And it's the addition of the 2023-2024 minor capital projects. Trustee Coots, seconded. Trustee Horn, thank you. And now we all in favor? Thanks. Approved. And now we will move on to our presentation. I see we have the literacy information case study with I see Jit and I see Christine and I see Nav, and I will pass this over to our wonderful superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would like to introduce Christine Danroth, Nav Chonker, and Karen Fitzgerald to present their case study intervention.
So, can you hear us? Can you speak? I don't know that we can hear you.
Christy, can you try talking?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Leave this unplugged.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. We're going to start with Nav and then we'll get going.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. We'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional ancestral territory of the Tsimshian people, in which we have the honor of learning, working, and playing. And this evening, we would like to present to you a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to start off with my role. My role is Nav Chonker, and I am the district literacy helping teacher.
And I'm Christine Danroth, and I am coming to you tonight talking about the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program and a project that I did for my UBC research project. And it was a literacy action project. So the first thing we started with is the First Nations principles of learning. And the principle that we focused on for this project is that learning involves patience and time. So the context of this project is that we started working with 2 grade 4 students in one of our rural inner city schools. It has a high Indigenous population. Students A and B, that's how we're going to identify them, are profoundly deaf. Both of them are in grade 4 and they were reading at a benchmark level A, which is beginning kindergarten. So we came together as a team. So we had Jit, our district principal, myself, Nav as the literacy teacher. We had the school learning services teacher be involved, and also our fantastic hearing assistant, which is Shannon Fraser. We took a collaborative approach. We wanted to improve their reading outcome, and our intervention is seen as a living intervention and approach. Want to do student A and then?
Sure.
Okay.
So just to look at demographics, so student A is 10 years old, one sibling, First Nations descent. Student A uses a Baha 5 fitted with a cochlear Baha Attract system right ear in 2017. Student A does not use ASL, American Sign Language, but speaks Maya. And student A is extremely quiet, shy, but learns quickly, eager to learn how to read, has trusted relationship with the education assistant, and was reading at a benchmark A when the intervention started.
So student B was also 10 years old, one sibling, First Nations descent. He had a bilateral sensorineural hearing loss and wears hearing aids daily. The student was also diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, a profound hearing loss. He loves school, he attended daily, and he's interested in everything. So every day we worked with him, he was super eager. The student also advocates for his hearing in the classroom. He will sync the teacher and the TOCs to the transmitter that'll also work with his hearing aids. He has a really good relationship with Shannon, and he was also reading at a benchmark level A. So the majority of my research was, we wanted to answer the question, does implementing a reading program improve student performance? So we used the First Nations principle of learning in approach with both of the students. We did a reading intervention that started in January 2022. Both students had weekly service from the EA and the teachers. And the program was developed with NAV support and the classroom teacher, my support, and the EA. And we did decide to do 3 pull-out sessions a week per student, and we considered this a living project. So some of the data that we collected was student A had really poor attendance for a year and a half. The family was very concerned about COVID-19, and student B attended daily. So we had them both complete a listening inventory for education so they could tell us what they could hear in the classroom and what they had difficulty hearing in the classroom. And the inventory is like a picture inventory so they can pick out how they best hear, and then we made accommodations. Like we said earlier, student A and B were offered 3 pull-out sessions weekly with direct, explicit, systematic, scaffolded instruction and structured literacy.
So the data that we are showing you tonight is exclusively for student B.
Yep.
As student B attended regularly and consistently during the intervention. So you can see on January 17th, this is the alphabetical principle or the alphabetical code. The green stands for letter names and sounds that are identified correctly. The pink stands for only letter, no sound. The blue stands for sound only, and yellow is I don't know. So student B was in mid-grade 4 when January 17th assessment took place. Ideally, especially under our new strategic plan, we would like this to be full green, all letters and all sounds. On January 17th, student B scored 10 letter names and letter sounds out of 26. Within about a month of intervention, student B, as you can see, has 21 letters and sounds in place with 4 remaining. The 3 areas that we focused on, one was structured literacy, direct, explicit, systematic instruction, as well as basing it on student B's alphabetical code baseline and his exceptionalities. The second principle we used was speech to print and print to speech. And because we were supporting 2 students with profound hearing loss, adapting speech sounds and assessments had to be done in order to determine whether the child understood the connection between speech sounds and the letters of the alphabet. And lastly, assessment and instructional accommodations had to be dynamic, constantly changing to ensure that we were meeting the needs of both students.
Yep. Okay, so we ran into attendance problems with student A. They did not attend to be reassessed for letter names and sound. Student A reached benchmark level B on February 11th, 2022. We increased our support even more and involved the First Nations family support worker. We made regular phone calls about the student's positive progress. And we encourage the student to attend with positive reinforcement, extra time with EA for relationship building. And that was something that they chose. They wanted to have more time with Shannon and working with us. And we continued intervention weekly. We met with NAV and we kept up with the team meetings with everybody. Student B was reassessed and knew 21 out of 26 sounds. On February 12th, 2022, student B got to a benchmark level B. And then on March 4th, 2022, they got to a level C. We used controlled text and decodable readers, and we continued the commitment and intervention to improve literacy levels until the end of the school year. So when we got to the data analysis, we kept the bar really high. We wanted both the students to reach either a benchmark level D or E by June 2022. We felt that the intervention was working. Student B attends consistently and student A needs to improve attendance, but continues to make progress when they were there. We continued our anecdotal meetings with the hearing assistant and district literacy teacher. We got the students to document their success on an iPad, Class Dojo, and taking personal photos of their work. They were really proud. And both the students created digital portfolios on the iPad. One of the things that we kept in mind is that when you're looking at research, according to Norris and Marshark 2014, explicit instruction in techniques to minimize disruptive behavior, to increase time spent on learning, and to establish and maintain positive relationships with deaf students are needed in teacher training, not only for teachers of the deaf, but also for mainstream teachers who teach classes with one or more deaf students, which is what the case was with us. And we need to continue to find ways to increase educational outcomes and progress with deaf and hard of hearing learners. We also need to encourage our colleagues to adopt reading programs in their teaching to improve reading outcomes for all students. One of the things we noticed with this project is that these two students were left behind, and so now we have to do a really big catch up. So the conclusions we came to was that student A increased by 2 reading levels from the initial benchmark A in January 2022 to a benchmark C by June 2022. And student B increased by 3 reading levels to a benchmark D by June 2022. So we didn't get to the E yet, but we're hopeful we'll get there. And we're committed to continuing the programming and then including other students. Our action plan going forward is to continue to follow the First Nations principles of learning and to acknowledge cultural backgrounds, create family connections and relationships, start reading programs and literacy interventions earlier with targeted instruction and data tracking, build capacity and invite educators, model collaboration and invite staff to join, present information to school staff or your school board, and professional development, teacher inquiry, regular collaboration. We want to include deaf and hard of hearing role models and to advocate and presume competence. And we've decided to continue this program this fall, and we're gonna hopefully do it the whole year. Yes. And that's it.
Yeah, would the students have had the same type of EA support before this study had started? So I see that one was designated autism, and that, was there any, like before you had started this game plan in the study, would they have been equally supported in the classroom at the same level?
Yeah, they would have had the same support. What we decided to do differently was do a targeted literacy program and support them even more, so they're not as at risk.
Totally.
Great, thank you.
Christine, so forward, these 2 students that got left behind, which is a concern all by itself. Will we continue to give them additional support to get them caught up to their peers? And then will we be checking in to make sure that they aren't sliding backwards? It's great that you got them there, and I'm very appreciative that this program is going. but they're still not where they need to be. So how will we support those two students in particular?
So Nav can add in if I forget something, but we're continuing with the plan, and what we noticed last year is that the staff got really excited about the results. So we had 2 teachers buy in and want to start literacy initiatives, which you can speak to, and in the classroom. And then our ultimate goal is just to continue to build capacity. So not just having Shannon trained on how to do this program, but have other EAs and other students participate. So we're going to continue to track them because we want them to be as ready as they can be for the middle school.
And so another piece to that I'd like to add is that the home school of these 2 students, the principal and vice principal, alongside with their EAs, actually reached out to me and invited me in. So we ran some learning sessions after school to support EA capacity building, and then also working alongside those teachers who are ready to take that step.
So those students are well looked after.
Yep. I don't want to say they're our favorites right now, but they might be.
I just don't want to see them lose all their gains that you helped them make.
Thank you. Trustee Moore?
Thank you for presenting to us today. It's very kind of you. I would ask, first of all, is this the first time we've done this in our district in this way? So I'll follow it for the next part. I really like how you make the learning fun for the student and positive, and how you really work on the relationships that they have with their teachers and their learning people and the other people, and the collaborating with the teachers and the EAs, and the fact that when you put this forward, that it then encourages the teachers and the EAs to participate as well, because they see, well, now I've got help, and now I've got someone to go to help me out. So just by doing that is such a big thing. So thank you very much for doing that.
And the answer to your first question.
And the answer to the first question, this is the first time you've done this kind of study in this way.
It's the first time for me in terms of doing the data collection and tracking where they're going, and also following the literacy program.
I think what it shows us is that we work with students with diverse disabilities with this literacy program. If it works for students with diverse disabilities, the track we are on, it will work for every other student as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Trustee Sanchez?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm thrilled when I hear the results that's happening here. My question would be for the EAs, are we giving them that training for the deaf and the hard of hearing? Because I'm sure that you're going to be getting more students with the same problem. And I realize it takes a long time to do things like this, but just want to find out, are we going to be training the EAs a little bit more so that they can, when they get into the classroom, even if we don't have this stuff, that they might be able to be helping other students, not only the hearing impaired, but other students at the same time. Which brings me to the thing that I've always said, that is my big dream, that we have an EA in every prime classroom. And I keep harping on this, and I'm hoping that one day that can happen. I'd be very happy to come in and have a look and see what you're doing, because that is something that's really, it's so difficult for students, especially when they're just beginning, and to see what you're doing. And I really appreciate what you're doing, and hope that you will continue to do this type of thing. And as I said, give the EAs a little more training, because I think they can do it too, and help you at the same time along with other students. Thank you very much. very good.
Thank you.
Trustee Sanchez, was there a question regarding the EA?
Yeah, my question is, for the EAs, are you going to be making sure that we have the training for these students, for the EAs? Because I think it's something that can come into our district. It doesn't take that much to do, to be honest.
Didn't hear it all.
We can hear it all. So I think the plan is to just build capacity as we move on, right? So, train the trainer kind of a format. So as we move on, we know that this is working. So the plan is we're going to start building capacities with the EA. So we're going to start, we have a plan to train them. And your mic is not very clear, so we can't hear very, very well. It's just cutting out in and out quite a bit. Sorry about that.
Thanks, trustee Coons.
Yeah, mine was all about the capacity, so it's just the awareness, and I think that's gonna be our biggest success. Budgets are budgets, there's only so many people to be able to be in the classroom and allow the training and the time and all that. So once everybody has bought in, and these are the type of programs that get me excited, because like Christine says, once you see people get excited, it's a lot easier to get on board, and then people will follow, right? So if the whole, even if your percentage was at 10% of people following, and you raise that level in all the classrooms to 40, how much better off are the children going to be when everybody's aware and everybody's believing in the system to bring everybody there? So that's great. Build capacity.
Trustee Beal?
Hi, Chris. I just have it's just actually a quick question. How do you find your relationship building with the parents to get them more involved in the children's education, to try to bring them along? How's it been to students?
We just made a commitment to meet them at the IEP meetings, and the parents that we worked with on this round, they're really proud of their children. And we also made a point of phoning home with positive information and showed them all the work that the students have been doing and that they've been working so hard. I don't know if you want to add anything. Sorry, I keep losing my voice.
It's okay. We also did send home things like printed decodable controlled text readers that the students had an opportunity to practice with Shannon, and then take it home and read with their parents. So really involving that engagement, and also having the parents have an opportunity to listen to their child read a decodable controlled text with confidence and success.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Trustee Meyer, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'll just say thank you for all your amazing work. And what really stands out in that program is not just the work that you're doing, but the relationship between the student and the EAs. I noted right away, it was already a trust in building in that relationship. And we all know, everybody keeps saying, and what government keeps putting out and teachers keep putting out is, every kid needs at least one person, a trusted adult in their education. And so these kids have it, and they have a team. And just thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We
Sorry, I
can't
just
say
want-
just about Shannon Fraser. She's amazing. That's it. Sorry.
And that's the other piece, is Shannon, as the hearing assistant, was very open in working alongside. So it made the process so much more easier. And having somebody who's interested in making her own personal initiative to learn, it really helps with the end goal being that we want our kids to learn to read.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I did love the last part where you shared that you sent home positive information to the families, and also sending home positive ways for the children to showcase to their families what they're learning. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for your presentation and for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James.
3.1 approval of board meeting minutes held June 20th, 2022. Seconded trustee Sanchez, all in favor? And the necessity of the closed meeting that has been made. Oh, sorry, and the special open board meeting held July 8th. Trustee Beal, seconded by trustee Last, all in favor? So moved. And then is there a special motion? And the necessity of the closed meeting agenda, trustee Last, seconded. Trustee Horn, all in favor? Correspondence, 5.1, wishes of the board. Correspondence? Receive and file. Trustee Horn, would you like to speak to that? Yes, trustee Horn?
In this, they say that there's going to be a national school food policy, right? So is there some way we can follow up and make sure they're doing something in a certain amount of time, maybe? Or do we just let it sit and keep track of what's going on? So I'm thinking that we need some kind of action down the road at some point, just to ask what's going on. It's a promise by the government, we're going to do something.
What would you like to do? trustee?
No idea. I think some idea that maybe in a year, we revisit it and see what it's done and how to do that.
There's a motion.
Is that a motion to do
I
that?
have a motion for receive and file. I can lift my motion. This will be voting on it and put a motion to write a letter or what you want to do, Jess?
I have trustee Meyer and then trustee.
I was just gonna say on the page 18 is Minister of Education and Childcare, where she talks about the Family Affordability Fund. So I believe that that's their answer to that. And that's going to be made available to school districts to help. I don't know if we've got that. I believe we have money for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's a receive and file. The way I read it would be that they will come back to us, they're not gonna not. So I don't think we have to file, I think it's okay to file it, because if any change is coming, they'll give us an update. We don't gotta circle back, so I'm in favor of it.
How's that for you, trustee
I'm
Horn?
good with that.
So we have a motion on the floor to receive and file. All in favor? 5.1.2, the letter from the Ministry of Education, which is of the board. Trustee Marsh,
Steve Bauer,
trustee Last, would you like to speak to that? motion?
the other question on this one too. Is this something we are participating in? You know that? Or you can have time.
In my report.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll share it.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor to receive and file. All in favor? Copy to the board. Wishes of the board.
I'll make a motion to receive and file 5.2.11 through 5.2.15.
Seconded trustee Coates. All in favor? Oh, sorry, would you like to speak to that?
No, I think that this is something we must be.
All in favor? And 5.2.2. Wishes of the board.
Sorry, can you check the motion? Wasn't the motion 5211 through 5215? Is that correct?
Yes. And now we're at 5.2.2
Oh, 522 now?
and
Okay.
5.2.2.1.
Sorry, I lost track.
What page is that one on?
I think it's back. 35.
Can I make a motion, Kate?
You can, we're just looking for the page number.
Oh,
35.
okay.
And yes, you can make a motion, trustee Meyer.
I'd like to make a motion to write a letter of support of 5.2.2.1 through 5.2.2.4. All of the letters kind of say the same thing. Oh, I'll talk about it after. That's my motion.
A motion for a letter of support.
Write a letter of support.
Yes, seconded. Trustee Beal. Would you like to speak to that, Trustee Moran?
Yeah, just that all these letters are saying the same thing and we're all feeling it. The inflation is a little bit crazy and things cost more money. And if we're not getting more money from the government, then it's coming out of our kids' classrooms. So that's my, yeah, thanks.
All in favor? 5.2.3. CSD letter to Minister of Education, read the gender inclusive option. Trustee Meyer,
To receive and file.
seconded. Trustee Horn, would you like to speak to that motion?
Just to say that this is the letter that we all agreed to send at our AGM.
All in favor? Approved. And 5.2.4, the access to education for all students. Trustee Meyer,
To receive and file for the same reason.
Trustee Lass, all in favor? Approved. Thank you. Superintendent of schools report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 6.1.1 field trips. There is an error on number 3. Number 3 is for Pacific Coast School and not for Prince Rupert Middle School.
Any questions regarding field trips?
6.1.2 enrollment. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Sandra Pond to provide us with an update on enrollment.
You're welcome. Thank you, Madam Chair. So enrollment in September is a moving target, and generally we're keeping track of how things are looking in all of our schools. And so every Friday I kind of look at what it looks like in our system or my ed system, and how many students are enrolled in our schools. I'm going to have a conversation with the principals to ask them how many students have we seen. Those numbers are not the same yet. So we've got currently 1,876 students enrolled or registered, and we've seen 1,813 students in our schools to date. So yeah, so it's the difference of 63, and so that's spread out amongst the schools. And so the principals are busy, and secretaries and teachers calling to find out, calling home, making connections with the families to see whether they're coming. As an example, at Pine Ridge, we just had 2 of our students from Ukraine come today. So every day we've got students still arriving. Yeah, so we'll see September 30th is our count day. That's a day where we really pay attention to what the registration is. We may have to take, we may have to remove some kids from the season.
Trustee Lass, question would be, compared to where we ended in June, as our enrollment, even though it's a very, there's a big discrepancy between.
Yeah.
And even that number, that's not a typical thing in September to have that many enrolled but not seen yet.
Yeah, it can be at the high school level, especially. For example, the high school, I think there's almost 30 that we still haven't seen, and at Pacific Coast, almost 10. So there's 40. Yeah. So that's pretty typical at those schools. We projected June 30th, 1,846. So we're up 30, but we're also missing. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee
Just a
Sanchez.
question. How many students from pre that we have? In our
Oh,
schools?
Andrew and I counted today, I think we've got 8.
Seven.
7? 7?
Seven.
7.
Seven.
That was,
That was in Ukraine.
Oh, from Ukraine. That's what, yeah, from, the reason I asked is because I've seen 2 of them, because I work with immigrants. I met with 2 of them and said I would see in the classroom to help, but so far I've been able to get into.
thank you, Sandra. 9, we've got 9, because there's 2 more than I was aware
Oh,
of.
9, okay.
From the new grade. Any, oh. What's 9?
Yeah, she Debbie.
I can't question it.
Yeah. Debbie.
Any questions for Sandra? Thank you so much. School startup.
6.1.2 school startup. All of our schools opened on time. Maintenance staff completed most of the repairs with a few minor repairs that are continuing. Students and staff have both commented that they enjoyed the return to somewhat of a normalcy, walking in the hallways, not looking for arrows, not worrying about directional signs in the stairwells for going up and going down. As of last Thursday, for teaching positions, this is from last Thursday, we had posted 3 new positions, and we anticipate that those will be filled soon to have our competent teachers. It will change as staff go on other leaves, and so it is still fluid. In your board agenda packages, you'll see various reports from maintenance and IT. There were a lot of projects completed over the summer months. There's enhancements on IT for security, general repair of laptops, desktops, and projectors, along with facility upgrades. So I won't repeat, but James Overton's report is there as well to tell you about the things that they and IT. There's been a few administrative changes, with Susan Cobza leaving Lane to work at the district office as the district vice principal of early learning and child care. Tanya Murray moves from vice principal to principal at Lane, and Cora Barak will take on the vice principal role. And just recently, we had changes. Carrie Levelton has now moved from associate principal to full principal at Prince Rupert Middle School, and Mike Patel will assume the vice principal role. Michelle Cross-Pomponio will become the district principal of human resources, and these changes will transition to take place by October 1st or thereabouts. Village of Metlakatla is now open again. We welcome back 30 students who were recently in a 5-day COVID lockdown. Because of that, I checked with our maintenance department downstairs. They let me know that we have sufficient supplies of wipes, gloves, hand sanitizers, masks, and cleaning supplies for many months, should they be needed. Hartley Bay reports they had a very smooth start with 37 students, which is 7 more than they had last year. There will be a resumption of after-school sports, 1 day per week per school. And check with your local school to see when they'll be there and what hours. It's a bit of difference. Port Edward, I understand, is at 2:45 to 4 p.m. So check with your local school, check their websites or their Facebook sites. It's on there. Staffing shortages do impact us on some of our projects. 6.1.4, upcoming projects, learning and other. This is a big catch-all phrase that you could fill warehouses with what I'd like to tell you about the wonderful things that are going on in our schools. They've started out very, very well. Things to support our students. The Ministry of Education and Child Care is providing the district with a $250,000 gift under the Food and Family Security Fund. And Trustee Mary talked about that earlier. The purpose of this fund is to help students and their families cope with rising prices for food and school-related things such as field trips, school supplies, and school meal programs. Over the next few weeks, as per the instruction from the Ministry of Education. We will be meeting with school staff, it will be on the agenda at staff meetings. The Indigenous Education Council will be consulted, and our partners will be also consulted to discuss ways that the funds can be distributed. There's a number of questions. Do we spend it all in 1 year? Do we wait and have a little bit over 3 years? This is a one-time only grant, as the minister said. There should be no expectation of repeat. Next is mental health and literacy. We have received a small grant to maintain our programs for mental health literacy. Part of the funding will be used to increase counseling time at Charles Hayes. Along with some of the work they'll be doing is to work with students and staff in the area of supports for mental health literacy. Early learning. Following guidelines issued by the Ministry of Education and Child Care, we are also being funded for an early learning and child care district vice principal position this year. Susan Fobso will work with staff on early learning needs in the district. She will also be meeting with our staff, our PACs, and our DPAC, and members of the community and local daycare providers, both private and not-for-profit, to determine what the school district can do and what demands are there for childcare spaces. And we talked about it that we do have partnerships with some of our providers, and we're working with them to see we're not here to take over the world in that area. We're here to support where there may be gaps. So Ms. Cobbson will be completing a scan of the current childcare environment, which will inform us, you, and the ministry where those things are at. And just, I put in a reminder that we are the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And this is fulfilling that obligation. As well, there's something called the Seamless Day Project. We received funding for a pilot project, which will include one class of kindergarten students at Conrad Elementary. This project will provide before and after school care for students in this class. Exact details still need to be worked out and trained staff have to be secured. Sandra Pond has been spearheading this for the last few months, and she will be working with Ms. Cobbson. Implementation Day this Friday. Staff will gather at the Lester Center to learn about being and becoming, knowing our stories for personal and collective transformation. Bertie Marquette and Jana Fox will highlight the significance of creating space for sharing our personal and professional stories as a pathway for understanding our individual and collective roles and responsibility for transforming ourselves, our schools, and the education system. By sharing their stories of being and becoming, Bertie and Jana will invite staff to reflect on their own stories, the stories of our schools, our district, and the community, to determine how we can all begin weaving a collective story that nurtures relational awareness and inspires action toward reconciliation and equity in our settings. And I have as well Terry Fox runs. Give an example of things are going. There have been Terry Fox runs completed, and some are happening this week. Heiner Elementary has probably by now just concluded at 7:30 their meet the staff meeting. Meet the teacher, meet the staff meeting. There are wonderful things happening in all of our schools. That's just a short summary.
Well, thank you, Andrew. You mentioned there the mental health funding, we got some extra mental health funding. Is that going to be an ongoing thing, do you think, or is that what do you think is happening?
No, the ministry has hinted it's not forever funding, but it's that building capacity. And that is a key thing for us to do is to make sure that we have many people, including teachers, trained in mental health literacy. Because you can never hire enough counselors. You need everybody to have a literacy level. So, yeah, it's a community.
Thank you.
Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we normally have an expenditure report to start off, but we'll do an audited financial statements in the in-camera meeting, and we'll get back to regular monthly report. Next meeting. You have in front of you page 15. one of your package is the operations department report. My thanks to all of the staff over the summer who are working very hard in schools and around the district to have everything we working system right. Any questions you have on that? Page 53, there's an IT update, and that's regarding the city. Yeah, that's good. Again, as Andrew mentioned, a lot of sort of security improvements in the background, but any questions you may have on that.
Questions? Absolutely, thank you. Committee reports, finance and building committee, trustee Leo.
You have in your package on page 55, the capital project update. And again, kudos to all the staff for a job well done. I mean, we've managed to, again, exceed expectations from our staff. So you can see washrooms are done, the ventilators, outdoor spaces, playground, outdoor garden, Conrad outdoor gardens done. So just some of the things that our staff is doing on behalf of our schools to make our schools look good and keep them in some sort of longevity. Then we moved on to 8.12. It's not part of your package, but it is in your handout. And so those are our 2023, 2024 minor capital projects. The HVAC is continuing at the Charles Hayes. Washroom upgrades will continue at Ware Camp. All of those need a bit more, right?
Yeah, there's still quite a number to do.
Yeah, yeah, and they're getting an HVAC continues as well. The dry sprinkler system, district siding and heating projects. We didn't actually get the bus yet. We're in the process.
No, we got-
No, we got.
See
Did we
number
get
one.
it?
That was on the page before.
Okay,
Two
oh,
buses on
sorry,
there.
sorry, I've got a bug here, so I'm not hearing very well, okay. I didn't know if we actually received the bus. Okay. Anyway, moving on to,
So these are what we're requesting, and we'll find out when the budget's done and all
Yes,
that.
yes.
March, I need a motion for the board. to
yes,
approve this.
I know, but I'm not finished yet, moving on to playgrounds for the preparedness. I need to sort of have a background on that, because there is already stuff in place, so what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, we've been through each of the schools recently have had upgrades, and PRMS is the only one that hasn't had anything to do for quite some
Okay,
time.
okay, I
So
just,
it's kind
that's,
of their
yeah.
turn in rotation.
Yeah, I just wanted to look on here to see if we had anything up to. Okay, so those are the things that the board needs to consider moving forward for the 2023-24.
I have a question. When is this due?
Now, we have to make a motion tonight. So I'll make that motion. To approve the 2023-24 minor capital projects, so I need a second.
I just have some questions. Anyone else with questions?
Well, let's make the motion and second it, and then the questions. I know, but, okay, questions. Okay,
Just my question is, we didn't see this before this moment. So I
yes, we
My
did.
apologies, I sent it out. Recently, before the meeting, I didn't have it ready and forgot to have it ready for the finance and building. That's all.
Any other questions? Trustee Ross?
Been to a playground or two with preschoolers. What kind of playground equipment are we going to put at a middle school for that age group?
So it's something that each time we have a playground approved, this consultation with the parent group and the school. That really good to know that is. One of the things I understand that they would probably ask for part of that academic equipment. These were just videos, probably like- something like that, so that's what's probably- So there will be at least one piece of equipment there that. So depending on what kind of maybe the pack, fundraiser or something.
trustee Holm and then trustee Coons.
With this is a new build in this playground. Yes.
What would be likely built adjacent to the existing playground? But it
Yeah.
add to it.
Add to it, yeah. With in mind the idea of the new building. Absolutely. Thank you.
Trustee Coons.
Yeah, no, just I can see the city, it makes me feel better about older kids at that age, maybe having that sort of scenario, but whenever I go by, it's after school, it's actually kids from the neighborhood get to hang out with their big little kids from the neighborhood. It's like, hey, it's a playground that's in the neighborhood, which is why, really, at that point.
And I would just add, I drop off somebody there every day and there are a lot of kids playing in the morning and after school, and they are grade 6. Right, they didn't think of that as well, that is quite.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering what it would be. Yes. More curiosity.
What we actually get.
Oh, are they gonna have umbrellas over the facilities?
Is there any more questions, Kate?
I just have one more comment, just that if we had PRMS school built, we would be buying some that had been a couple years ago.
Yes. I do have a question. So if we have all of these washrooms done, what washing upgrades would we do?
The girls are up for next one. Yeah, we haven't upgraded them to theirs yet. They're very old.
And then unit ventilators will complete or not?
The unit ventilator was completed at Charles Hayes, or just the last little bits this week. The part at Charles Hayes that has not been upgraded from the original construction of the school is the large air handling units that provide heat and air in all the hallways on the pump stations. So the engineers think they could get improvements to those that would improve our energy efficiency and the.
And if I'm understanding right, the government, then the minister then lets us know what this schedule is.
Yes,
And then
we'll put in the request, and then we'll find out like in February, March, and then come back and forth.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a motion on the table to agree. All in favor? Thank you. That's it for the committee reports. And framework for advanced student learning has not met. Provincial council. Did you meet over the summer, trustee Marion?
No, nothing new.
Religious education council we have not met, and now to policy committee, trustee Vina.
We have two, actually have one policy actually for approval. And that's our procedure bylaw, and it's attached to agenda. Very few amendments to that. So I'll make a motion to that.
The bylaws. So you can make it.
Oh, it's 3 readings. Sorry, pardon me. I'd like to make a motion for all 3 readings, please. Second,
Trustee Lance.
do I have to read it?
Just read like the first.
All in favor? Sorry. All in favor? Thank you.
Just 1 sec. Forgot that it was
Page 57.
57. Hold on, I'm just gonna read the last part. That's all that's applicable to the bylaw. That's fine, the end to this. Okay, so I guess the board shall not, where's the 3 readings? You know, we've done. Oh, but the 3 readings of the bylaw, I'll get it. I'd like to make a motion to read the bylaw for a first time, the procedure bylaw for a first time.
Second is trustee Lance. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the, or pardon me, to read the procedure bylaw for a second time.
Seconded. Trustee Lance. All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to read the bylaw for a third and adoption. I don't have that right. Third and adoption.
Seconded. Trustee Lance. now you've agreed to that. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none? All in favor? All in favor. Approved. And my second one is policies for review. Oh, by the way, there was no feedback on the procedure bylaw from the stakeholders. They told you at the beginning of that. Okay, so moving right on here, 2310, protection of students and maintenance of board policy, which is page 69 of your agenda. I'd like to make a motion to send that to the stakeholders for review. Second, trustee Warren. Would you like to speak to that? Motion? All in favor? Pretty minor changes. And the second one is 5220, use of school grounds and equipment. On page 70, I'd like to make a motion to send that to the stakeholders. Trustee Warren, would you like to speak to that? All in favor? And that's it for me.
Does the final for approval need a motion? It's in the agenda as needed.
We did all that.
Did the three readings.
We did
Okay.
the three and we did.
Yep.
District Technology Steering Committee.
We have not met.
Thank you. And 9.1, page 71. Board meeting dates. Yes.
Well, with the passing of the bylaw, the second set of dates, the third Tuesday set of dates, are the dates that would now normally fall into the approved for your future meetings. The couple marked with stars ended up being a little bit earlier because of the Christmas break and the winter break. They're not on the third Tuesday for those 2 months. Question, so normally you approve this list. The question I have for you to consider though is the October meeting. October 18th falls after the election and before the new board comes into office. There was a survey that one of the secretaries sent out. Most districts either will not meet during that period or will only meet if there's something urgent that needs to be done. So the question is, do you want to meet on the 11th, so it's before the election? Do you want to not meet or only meet if there's something urgent that comes up? And date that you would want.
Trustee House, and then I have trustee Coombs.
Election or not, there's still business of the board that we need to be conducted, and this board is this board is still active until a new board is sworn in, so I don't see, I would be opposed to not meeting. If it makes, I mean, I don't see it makes any difference if it's before the election or after. We are still the board until a new board is sworn in. So I believe we meet like we normally do.
100% we need, because that's way too long of a time period of that, for one thing. And I'm good on the 13th or the 8th, or whatever day, the 11th or the 18th. Could either one that makes more sense, but I'll meet on either one of those days.
Trustee Warren.
My thought is that the board needs to meet the business to end with, another that minutes or after.
Trustee Meyer or trustee Sanchez or Bill? I'm sorry, but I'm going to be in your, oh, yes. Trustee Shu? Trustee Meyer, did you have your hand up? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should meet. I agree with Tina.
Trustee Coombs?
Andrew, is there a preference on 11th or 18th? And you can get back to us at a different date. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take that on my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, Colin. Black. I don't know. Probably shutting the lights off before. Can't afford the bill. That is the day after Thanksgiving.
Yep. Tuesday night after that. Good. October 11th.
I just have a question about any of them. Will we be able to help on that?
So wouldn't be ready to go to the finance and building.
Trustee Maya, you're on that committee.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Won't be ready.
I can't, it's really hard for me to hear Tam, sorry.
Sorry, the financial information would not be ready for the Finance and Building Committee the week before, but it would probably be done by the Friday to go on the packet, and so that would just go straight to the board.
You're muted, Trustee Maya.
I muted myself when I meant to unmute. Sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar. So would we meet before?
The proposed date right now, the board is the 11th. However, if we meet then, building and finance will not have an opportunity to meet prior to the board meeting.
It would meet, but you wouldn't be able to do that.
We would meet.
Oh,
but we
right.
need financials.
Right. So essentially the building and finance would just be in our regular meeting. Is that right? So no building and finance meeting?
I think you would probably have Finance and Building to look at other matters. You just wouldn't be able to review the financial statements because they wouldn't be ready.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to, that building and finance meeting, that would happen before that. If it happens between the 6th and the 11th, I can't attend because I have a medical thing going on. Just, I won't even be able to call in.
And you wouldn't have forum because Trustee Neal won't be at that meeting either.
Leave it at the 18th.
So we will leave it at the 18th.
Yeah, the 18th would be much better for me. I would still have to call in, but I can be there.
Thank you.
All dates as presented.
And can I have a motion to approve the proposed bylaw at third reading? Thank you. Trustee Lass, Trustee Sanchez, would you like to speak to that? All in favor? Thank you. Wonderful.
Question?
Yes. We're on business? Yes. Can I do a business? I don't believe there is any business.
I'm waiting until you officially say it's business.
Is there
I don't
any
want to
new
interrupt.
business? I don't believe there's any new business. That's last.
Then I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Trustee Beal on her being acclaimed in the election. Thank you.
Thank you. For that. Information items 11.1. This Friday, as was shared by our superintendent, is implementation day. 11.2. Friday, September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and I would love to share that week is actually National Week for Truth and Reconciliation, and there are many ways to participate in our community all week long, and I encourage you to see what's available in this week of truth. 11.3 Thanksgiving Day is Monday, October 10th. 11.4 the school trustee election is Saturday, October 15th. 11.5 our Board of Education meeting will be on October 18th. 11.6 the Board of Education meeting is Tuesday, November 8th, which is the first meeting of the new board for board elections. 11.7 is Remembrance Day, however, we will be meeting prior to that. And 11.8 is the Board of Education regular meeting, which is Tuesday, November 15th. Have I missed them? Yes. We now have a 10-minute question and answer period. Yes, Mr. Clark?
Park, student school district. I have a delicate question. So I thought I'd give a little context before asking the question.
And I'd love to let you know that your questions need to be connected to our agenda.
Myself, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm the president of the Prince Rupert Teachers Union, Sage Davis.
What's your name?
Sage Davis.
I see.
Yeah, very nice to meet all of you, and for those of you running again, good luck. I've apologize for being a little late tonight. I had to wait till the meeting was filmed, so anyway, very nice to meet you guys. And for those of you who are trustees next year, thank you. Thank you so much. It's exciting. Good position.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah. It took a few attempts. What's going on with the spray painted silver door on the side? Why is it chrome? I actually went home until I talked to Gavin Bell, and he's like, no, you have to go to the secret entrance at the top.
I'm the key.
Yes, Mr. Clark.
Yes, now I'd like to stand up as the president for the district.
Yeah.
Right, oh,
Thank you.
just that one question, which were hard was to ask. It's almost impossible for the district to respond to policy questions during the summer holidays. So it's possible if we can bring policy changes until, I'd like to ask if we could write policy changes after the beginning of school year starts, or try to organize that when stakeholder.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Last call for questions. Not seeing any. Thank you all for coming, and I'd like to ask for a motion for adjournment. Oh, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Trustee Mayor, you're not going anywhere. You can just use the other link. Trustee Mayor, for the-
You would just sign on to the other link?
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
No, never.